Hello everybody. So this video is on looping or loop constructs. Loop construct. And what does that mean? In many situations, there is a need when you need to execute a block of code several times. Okay? When you need to execute a block of code several times. So in that case, you would need what is called loop. And in C++, you have 4 different types of loops. Basically, you have 4 different types of loop. You have loop number 1. You have what is called you have a while loop, while loop. You have a while loop. That's a while loop. You also have what is called do while. Do something. Do while loop. So you have while loop. You have do while loop. You have a for loop. You have a for loop. For loop. And you can have a nested loop. Nested loop. i.e. loop. Or you call it nested loops. That is loop inside another loop. Okay? So basically, you have 4 of them: while, do while, for loop, and nested loop. Okay. Now let's start with a do while loop, the number 1. Do while loop. So I'll create the library for input output stream objects and the statement to resolve namespace. Okay, as usual, you know these 2 are very important for now, although not like absolutely crucial, but that's a standard we are using. Now let's illustrate a while loop. Okay, and what are we trying to solve here? Let's illustrate a while loop to calculate weekly sales. Okay, or to add up all the daily sales for 7 days into what? A weekly, into a sum called weekly sale. Okay? Now, that means there is a need for you, let's call it a double, to create a daily sale. Let's call it daily sale. And weekly sales. Those are the variables. Now, daily sale. Now, this you remember you have in the assignment for week 3, you have week 1 sale. Week 1 budget, something like that. Week 2 budget. So instead of creating several variables, you want to use just one variable name to hold different values. For instance, you might be calculating for 1,000 sales. You don't have to do double sales 1, double sales 2. 1,000 times. That is too strenuous. So you need to create this variable to hold what the sales you have for every day from Monday to maybe Sunday, of course, and then you will add up all the week daily sales into another variable called weekly sales. Now, at the beginning of the first week, you don't have any answer for weekly sales, so you call it weekly sales to be what? Equals to 0. So this first line is what? You declare two variable daily underscore sales and weekly underscore sales, and assign the weekly underscore sales to what? 0. Now, so once again, you want, at the end of everything, you want to have something like weekly sales to hold all the daily sales. Daily sales 1 plus daily sales 2. This is plus. All this for 7 days. Plus dot dot dot. And I want to keep doing the same thing for daily underscore sale 7. Imagine you have daily sale 1,000. Does that mean you have to create 1,000 variables to do the same thing over and over? That is very wrong. Now you are adding up all the daily sales. You see the logic? Suppose into weekly sales. So at the beginning of the first week, the weekly sales should be assigned a value 0. Okay? Now, so we are illustrating a while loop. While. Come on. While loop. See out. Enter your daily sales. In fact, you have to enter them like a let me have this count equals to 1. Okay, count equals to 1. Now this count, I need this count to be able to know how many times I have entered the daily sales. So I need to have from 1 to 7. Okay, so now while counts is less than or equals to 7, look at the logic. While count, while followed by a round bracket. You see, you don't come here and tell me curly brace. No. You don't do this. Okay, it has to be a round bracket. So while counts is less than or equals to 7, do something. Do something. That means see out, enter the count sale. They count. No. This has to be a variable because that would like day 1, day 2, day 3. So they count sales amount. Okay. And as they count sales amount. Yes, I don't want to put end line here because if I put end line here, when I run it, it's going to put the amount below that statement. So I want the amount to exactly appear in front of this string. So you have that. Enter the, sorry, I need to put this in a string too. You see that? So this will be like enter day 1 sales amount. So this count here is going to run from 1 to 7 because of this. You got the logic? So for 7 times, then you see in daily sales. When you see in your daily sales, then you will add up your weekly sales. equals the original weekly sales, which is 0, plus each of the daily sales. So daily sales. See the logic? This is very important. Sometimes this could be written as weekly underscore sales plus equals daily sales. Sometimes you can write, that's another way of writing this. Okay, now we are illustrating while loop, only while loop for now. Then I need to display, okay, I need to count. Count equals count plus 1. So in other words, if I start from 1, I need to move to 2, to 3, to 4, to 5. Count will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, your count will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Because 7 days in a week. So that is why you have this condition here. Okay, now you have to, so at the end of everything, if your count happens to be 8, then you will break out of this loop. You can now say out. Now the actual output statement, which is the total sales for the week, cannot be inside the body of your while loop. This is a while loop. This is the syntax for the while loop. This is the syntax for the while loop. Okay, and this is the body. Why is it? This is the body of the while loop. This is the body. So your actual output statement should come outside the body of the while loop. So see out the total sales. Total sales for the week, i.e. count days. That's 7 days. Count days. How you count days is our weekly sales. All right, and I think I should have my return 0 here. That's very easy, right? So look at it again. We are illustrating I'm illustrating 4 things today: while loop, do while, for loop, and nested for loops. Now, I've explained all this already. Now you can actually right click here and copy the path. Then right there you can go to terminal and click new terminal, and then cd change directory and make sure you are in the same directory as your source code. Then let me compile. That works fine, and let me execute it. Now enter day 1 sales amount $200, day 2 $250, day 3 $350, day 4 $450, day 5 $550. Suppose day 6 $450, day 7 $600. Now you see that at the end of everything is added. That is, you see, I was doing the same thing over and over for 7 days. That is what is called a loop. And then I can come here and make sure this is done properly. Is $. Okay, I want to put $. Here. Say amount in $. Okay, now let me run it. CLS. So 250, 350, 275, 230. Maybe it's making much in a 5th day. 500, 600, $450 on day 7. And then at the end of everything, the total sales for the week is IE now. The reason why it is called this counting is because my final count, it's going to be 8. Okay, it's going to be 8, but that 8 will not enter the loop. And so here, what I would rather do here is, if I might say, I can come right here, because I don't want 8, it's 7 days actually. I can come right and say count minus 1. Okay, and that will probably give me, let me recompile, 250, 350, 275, 230, 600, 450. Well, I missed one, maybe 200, I think. So, so the total sales for the week is 7 days is blah blah blah. Now that is how to do while loop. You see, the condition inside this while loop, it's a Boolean condition. It's either it is true or false. Now, how do you do while loop? It's basically the same. All you have to do here is to do, you can grab this line 17, grab it, cut it, and type do. You see that your do, it's not followed by a round bracket. No, your do is followed by the curly braces. So you do the statement first before the condition. So you do all this, then the condition stays at the end of it. So you put semicolon there. So you have to do first. You do first before what? The condition. So you do first before the condition. Essentially the same thing. Okay. Now you see that I'm not changing things too much. I just move my while down and I inserted do, D-O, up there, and it's actually the same thing. Okay, so I have if you don't want, I think instead of doing this, if you don't want to have this complex expression, you can just say less than that. Okay, at least it's still going to do it for 7 days. If you start from 1 to 6. Now, if it is less than 6, if your count equals to 6, it will come back here and enter the sales amount for 7 days. Okay, and increase your what? Your count to 7. I think this is better. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Now you can compile again. Yes, and so 200, 250, 300, 400, 500, 600. Oh, what? Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. That should be there. And I think I need to have this as count minus 1 because it's going to use okay, that is better. So your do while loop work the same way. Okay. Compile. Yes, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. So now everything is added from what? Day 1 to what? Day 7. Okay, so it's up to you to make your design on how, here actually the 7 after adding up the 7th sale, 7th week, 7 day sales, it will increase the counter to 8. Okay, and if you want to capture all the 7 days, you need to have less than or equal to 7. Okay, so here at the end of this line, after this line, your counter, the value of the final value of your count is going to be 8, and we have 7 days. So I want to display 7, so I have to write what? Count minus 7 days, which is kind of very easy. Okay, now that is a while loop. I have done while loop and do while loop. Let's go for for loop. Let's go for for loop and look at the logic again. You have our weekly sales. Daily sales will be inputs. You are inputting daily sales here 7 times. So I have to declare the variable called daily sales, and then I want to add up all the sales for each day, 7 days, into another variable called weekly sales. So the weekly sales at the beginning of the first week, I don't know the value, so I have to call it 0. Then I have to count how many days. So I have to start counting from 1. Count equals to 1. Okay, so your count can be in a double if you like. Now, do enter the first day, say in, add up, increase your count. So keep doing all this from this line. So you are telling the computer to execute all these 4 lines 7 times. Okay? 7 times. And now if you start from 1 to 6 to 7, then the last one is going to be 7 plus 1. Actually, the value of count will be 8. But in the actual sense, you will have added up only 7 sales from day 1 to day 7. Okay, so that is how to do loop, and the while is similar. Now let's go for for loop. In the for loop, you will just have for int I or int counts equals to 1, count less than or equals to 7. See that? Count less than or equals to 7, count plus plus. Now inside this, let me remove all this. I'm going to remove the while. I don't need the while again. Now inside the body of the for loop, you see the for loop accept the for statement, accept the round bracket. You don't write for loop as for this. No, that's not possible. So you have this round bracket, and inside the round bracket you have a series of statements which we call initialize, initialization, and update, and then continuation. Now this is how to initialize. To start with, let your count start from 1 and then count as long as that is the first statement. That is why you have a statement terminator here. So int count equals to 1. Okay, as long as the count is less than or equals to 7, keep increasing the counts. That's all you have to do in what? For loop. I'm telling you, for loop. And then for each time you need to what? Enter the sales for every day. Okay, and this, don't forget, this is a prompt statement, right? This is a prompt statement, and then this is called runtime input. You input it 7 times, then you add up all you are inputting in the next line. You cannot add up before the input. You cannot have this line before line 21. Okay, and then you I don't need to increase count again. You see, this is for while loop and do while loop, so I don't need this part again. So that part is going to be done here in count plus plus. So you are starting from 1. Okay, the first one is 1. To come here is 1 less than 7. Yes, this will be count plus plus. That is 2. To come back again, 2 compared to 7, 2 plus plus will be 3 until you have count to be 7. And then at the end of everything, you have added up. So that is how to do for loop. Okay, then let me compile it and run. Same thing, 200, 250, 201, 300, 340, 500, 650, and everything is added up. Sales Oh yeah, you know why this is? I have enter day 1 sales amount up to day 7, and it's telling me the total sales for the week, i.e. 0 days. I will tell you why this is 0 now. Okay, if you go back to the source code, counts at the end of everything here, it's actually using the count up here. Okay, the count up here is using that. So if you so to get rid of that, you can just RE 7 days to avoid trouble. Okay, because my count is part of my loop constructs, and I don't want to, because of time for the video, so I need to end the video very, very soon. So 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, now 800. You have everything added up. The total sales for the week, i.e. 7 days, is this. Now this is what is called this is a for loop. Now if you want this loop to repeat forever, now there is one thing I need to tell you. The final value of count to break out of the loop is count equals to 7. Once your count equals to 7, it's going to compare count less than or equals to 7, and that final value count is called a sentinel in programming. Okay, that is a value that you use to break out of a loop. Now if you want that iteration to continue forever, all you have to do is to make sure this condition here is always satisfied. Okay, you can turn this one again to greater than or equals to 7. Now this will never stop, because it will keep coming to, like, if you start from 1, no, greater than or equals to 0. Okay, so if you start from 1, it's going to increase the count to 2, to 3, and of course all the numbers that you are getting subsequently will be more than 0. So this will never stop. Let me run it and show you why. Okay, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. It will keep running forever. So just press Ctrl plus C on your keyboard to break it. So that is called forever loop, and this is called forever loop. Okay, forever loop. Now if you want the loop to continue forever without anything inside it, that's another thing you can do. You can come here and tell me semicolon, semicolon. That will also run forever. Although I need to, that will also run forever. So that will also run forever. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's going to run forever. Now you see that your count is telling me count 1, 1, 1, 1. I mean, enter day 1, day 1 all the time. So you can change that here. Because I'm not increasing my count at all. So you can come here and tell me count plus plus. So by so doing, I think you will have the value of count changing all the time. Okay, so let's rerun that. And what am I doing? So 1, 2. You see that? It's already changing. 45, 43, 23, 43, 45, 67, 89, 90. It will never stop. So just press Ctrl C. So that is how to do forever loop with for loop and what? You can also do the same thing with while. You can do, for while loop, you just come here and tell me count, while count is greater than 0. Okay, do this. So this will continue forever because this will continue forever because this condition will always be satisfied. It will always be satisfied. You are starting from 1 here. Your count is 1, and then you increase count each time you run it to 2, to 3, to 4. So it's going to be forever and never. Okay, and you can do the same thing for do while. I don't have to show that there. So let me really quickly go straight to some of the things you also have in the lecture slide. Now you see, last week we only talked about Boolean decision, right? While this, do this. Now we are using that in our for loop. Okay. Let's compute factorial of a number. Factorial of a number. Don't forget the value of the counter or the count that you use to break out of the loop is called a sentinel. Factorial of a number. It's like if you are recording with Loom. Now, factorial of a number in your algebra or precalculus, factorial of a number in mathematics, factorial of a number, e.g., number 5, you call it is given as 5 factorial equals, you multiply all the integers from that number down to 1. 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Okay? So also the same thing, 4 factorial is what? You multiply from 4 down to what? Down to 1. Down to 1. Now, the factorial of 0 equals 1, and the factorial of 1 equals 1. Note, there is no factorial of fraction or negative numbers. Negative numbers. So you cannot compute factorial. There is nothing like factorial 5.235 factorial. You cannot do this. This is not possible. And you cannot do minus 7 factorial. So you cannot do factorial of decimal point numbers, and you cannot do factorial of negative numbers. So that is meaning of factorial. Okay. Now, for that factorial, you see how that series of numbers changing from 5 to 1, from 4 to 1. If it starts from n, it's going to start changing from n down to 1. Okay. So what you do here, that you will need to create a variable called int. Call it my number. My num. Okay. And another variable called fact for factorial, because we need to multiply all those numbers all the time. And then in algebra or in mathematics, you know that 1 is called a multiplicative identity. Just as when you are summing up, initial sum is going to be 0, but when you are multiplying, initial multiplication for a variable should be 1. So 1 is called a multiplicative identity, and 0 is called additive identity. So I'm going to have fact to be 1 and the numbers that you are supplied with. Let me call it my norm. So my norm in this case can be any of your 5, any of this 5, 4, 3, or the number that is given initially. Okay, now see out, enter a positive integer. Okay, enter a positive integer, cin. You know, that's followed by cin as usual. So, and that is number. So e.g. your my norm can be any number that you enter. Your my norm can be any number, entered. Okay, but only whole numbers, not decimal point, not a negative number. Okay, so now, because if I enter this number, suppose I enter number 5. Okay, let me just run it first. Okay, let me run it first. While my norm is greater than 0. You see that we don't want factorial of negative, so that caters for that. While my norm is greater than 0, do something. Fact is going to be fact times my norm. My norm. Okay. And then you my norm minus minus. So here you will start. Now look at the logic. The original fact, the numbers at the right hand side here must be known. So that means if you look at it up here, your fact is 1. So that means you don't know this one at the left side for now. That means the one at the left side equals the one at the right side times, and what is your my norm? My norm is the number that you enter. Suppose in line 21 you enter 5, so your my norm start with 5. Again, here you have my norm minus minus. So in line 26, your my norm becomes 4. So it comes here as what? 4. Until you enter up onto what? 3, 2, 1. So when you enter 1 for your, until your my norm becomes 1. So when it becomes 1 here, so your my norm minus becomes 0. So that would break out of the loop. So the value of my norm that will cause your loop to stop, or the while loop to stop, is what? 1. Okay? 1. All right. So you have that, and then you can close. Outside of your while loop, you cannot have your output statement. See out factorial of now. Let me write my norm. You see that my norm here in this line, your my norm will have become 0. Okay, let me just put it there. Equals facts. All right, and then you can end line here and return 0. Okay, so look at it again. You start with a number int my norm, fact equals this, and then you enter the number, say 5. So when you enter number 5, the compiler compare 5 with 0. Say 5 is more than 0. Okay, then do fact equals 1 times 5, because the first fact is 1 up here. Okay, so 1 times 5. Again, your my norm is 5, so your my norm becomes reduced here. I need a semicolon here. So my norm will be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And each of these value will be used up here each time it runs again. Okay, now if I run this, that works fine. Now enter a positive number 5. Now look at what I have here. Factorial of 0 is 120. So that means I need to what? Adjust my code such a way that I need to have my 5 back here. So what I will just do is immediately after this input, I'm going to create a new number called my original number, and I'll assign my num to it. Okay, so this my original number will pick up the original value, original number that you input. So if I copy this, then I'll just change this one to what? My original number. So at the end of everything, if I run this now, I shouldn't have any trouble with the output. So factorial of 5 is what? Is that factorial of 5 is 120. Look at it again. I need to do this because I messed up with the value of my num from 5 down to what? 0. And when your my num is 1, it's going to be what? My num minus. So that will stop. So that's how to do factorial of number. And you can do the same thing with what? With a while loop. So what do? You just pick up this and put your do there. And then transfer your while back here and put semicolon at the end of it. Okay? That's it. Okay, look at it. It's the same thing. So let me get rid of this. This is taking too much space. This is taking too much space. Now run it. 5. Factorial of 5 is 120. Okay, and if you want to use a for loop to do the same thing, what do? Is you will say for int I int I equals 1 semicolon I less than or equals to less than or equals to let me see, less than minor. Okay, I plus plus. I can have fact equals fact times I. Okay. So remember your I, the I will, all the values of I will be from 1 to your minimum from here. You start from 1. So it will compare 1 with maybe 5. Then it will increase 1 to 2 to 3 up on to what? That. And if you then you get rid of this. I don't need this anymore. Then what else must I get rid of? My original number fact. Okay, that's perfect. Now let's run it. The same thing. Factorial of 5. Oh no, factorial of 5 is not 120. Yeah, I must have this as less than or equals to. Sorry about that. So factorial of 5 is 120. So I've used while loop, do while loop, for loop for 2 things today. 2 problems today. So you can also have a sentinel control loop. Let me remove this. You know what? I hate the way this thing is doing it with my. Oh yeah. Okay, so let's have double. If you check page number 21 in your lecture slide, double my number. I want to adding up input numbers. Okay, that's the problem statement. Adding up input numbers. Okay, now my number double my sum equals to 0. Okay, so you have while true. Now, for the first time I'm using this, will always run because your true is 1. So that will always cause the computer to execute that statement. Okay, so see out while true, then that is the while loop. You remember the while loop should be followed by a curly brace. While true, see out, enter a number, and 0 to stop the loop. Yeah, so seeing my number. Now you keep getting the numbers here. Okay, and then you have to check if the number is not equals to 0. You have to check that. If the number is not equals to 0, then keep increasing the number. My sum equals my sum plus my number. Okay, and then you close it. Else break. Break. Now this is the while loop. This is the while. This is where you start from, and this is the entire body of the while loop. So before you stop the while loop, you have to insert your what? Output statement. No, it should even be outside of it. Sorry, outside of at the end of your while loop, you have your output statement. See out the sum of the numbers is my sum. Right here. Let me put new line, file line, but not compulsory. So that's now you see in line 21. I'm telling there's a statement that says if my num not equals to 0. So that means, let me put a comment here, which is wrong. The value my number equals to 0 is called a flag. A flag. Now let's come here and then so enter number. Let me enter integer 1 to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let me enter 0. It stops. You see that? That 0 is used to break up because this condition, it's a run forever condition, like forever loop. This is forever loop. But luckily, I was able to what? Manipulate my way to look for a way to stop it by including a flag or kind of a sentinel to stop it. So that is it. And you can do the same thing to read a file. Okay, now let me create a file, notepad. Let me call it 45, 54, 55, 76, 89. So let me increase, let me have a let me just have the same thing all through, okay? Let me have 5 times. And let me call it my text. My text, and I don't know where I save my. Okay. Let me try C. I'm not sure it's in C. It should be in C. Document. So now my text is in what? Document folder. I believe the same directory where I save my source code. So I want to read all those numbers with the for loop. I have to be fast because I don't want this video to be more than 1 hour. Okay, so I'm reading those files. Now I need a fstream library. Include fstream. Okay, now I need to create a file. So let me call it input my total. I want to read up everything and sum it up. Equals 0. Then integer input number. Okay, I will need that, and I will need to count all the numbers in the file. And I want to compute the average. I want to compute the average. So step number 1. Step 1. I need to create a variable to read my file. Let me call it input file, or input file, or let me call it as the input. Okay, and step number 2, I need to open the file. Step number 2, I need to open the file using this file object, if stream. Step number 2. So dot open. So luckily the name of my text file in that folder is my text.txt. That's to open the file for what? Input. For reading. You want to check if the file exists. Step number 3, checking if the file exists. So if not as the input, okay, that means the file does not exist. Cout unable to read the file, and then you can return 0, because you need to break out of the if statement. You need to break out of this if statement. So when you have an if statement to check whether the file is readable or not, you must break out of the what? If statement. So break out of the if statement. Okay, now the next thing is step number 4. Step number 4 is using looping constructs to read all the content of the file. Okay, so how do you do that? By saying while as the input greater than the input number is here. So each of the numbers in the text file, you call it this, you assign this variable to them. So this variable is assigned each of the number in the text file. So you are using your what? File object created in line 12 as the input to pick up each variable from the text file. So these together with your variable, file input variable, enables, you can put space here if you like, so it doesn't matter. So while that you can increase your count plus plus. So, and then my total equals my total plus, of course, plus this, each of this is very logical. My total plus my input. All right, and see out, you want to see out each of those numbers to be sure that you are reading correctly. Okay. And let me separate them with a space. So this one will print the content of my txt to what? The screen. Very easy. Is that not? So now you close your while loop immediately here. You close your while loop. You may try to print new line. No. And then you close your you close your file as a dot close. You close your file. At the end of the closing, you are done with you are done with reading and summing up everything. Then you can compute average, if you like, the total of these numbers is, oh, you need to put this in what? It's a string, of course. So sometimes I have to copy that, then put my string there, put it inside. Is my total, right? And line. Now, average, I already declared the average up here as a double, okay, to compute the average. So the average equals, now, if I say my total divided by counts, you know, that's the average, right? Normally, that's the average. Average equals total divided by counts. But now, this my total here, it's an integer, and count is also an integer. So if I'm supposed to have maybe 45.45 as an answer, look at it. My total is integer, my number, each of the numbers in the text file is integer, the count is integer. So I need to be able to convert all these numbers to double. So I need to convert my total to double by having static underscore cast. So I'm going to put the double in what? The angular bracket, and put my new type and put the numbers here. So this converts my total to what? To double. The same thing, count, so that you can have decimal points. Converting my count to what? Double. That's it. So if you are converting from one type to another, remember the original type is going to be in a round bracket. You cannot omit this round bracket. The round bracket must be there. Then before it, then you have your what? The destination type. The destination type with your static underscore cast. Now, let me run this real quick to see if there is no problem with it. All right. Yeah, I'm lucky. You see the logic? Now, these are the numbers. If you want, these are all the numbers. You see that I enter what? I entered 5 numbers. And then the total of this number is what? Then the average, I have not printed the average. I need to come here and say, oh yeah. Then after here, I need to put the average. the average of these numbers is average in line. That's it. Now, if I want to, so if you want to separate all the numbers by column, by comma, it's fine. That's okay. So if you come back here and rerun it, and make sure you have a so that is it. You see everything I have here, all the numbers are red, and the total is this, and the average is this. So I've illustrated how to use a for loop today, while loop, do while loop, forever loop, and how to use while loop to read from a text file. If you have a number, for instance, is a text file that contains only words, you can count how many words in the file with this source code. I hope this is very, very informative. Thank you.